What's up, Flick Connection? This is Darren, and today I want to give you the top 10 crime movies you can currently watch on Netflix. Now, this is going to be a list of the top 10 crime-specific movies, and that's going to include crime thrillers, dramas, an action movie. Crime movies are really one of my favorite genres of all time. Really, my favorite movies. Movies like Goodfellas all have to do with crime, and it's interesting because it's something we don't get to see in our daily lives, or at least most of us don't get to see in our daily lives. So it's really interesting to see that on film, at least for me. So if you're like me, you will probably like everything on this list, even the ones that are mediocre. But we're going to start with the mediocre ones at number 10 with Welcome to the Punch.
It's alright to be afraid. You may be safe.
Now, this is a movie from the UK. It's only a few years old. It stars James McAvoy and Mark Strong. It looks great. It looks like you're going to see something almost on the level of Heat, which says a lot. It kind of starts off with a big promise and it just never delivers on it, but it's still pretty solid. And because it received, negative reviews, a lot of people haven't seen it. So this is a pretty good one that you probably haven't seen. Putting it at number 10 just because it's the weakest one on the list, but I liked it, and it only gets better from here.
Be careful with my baby. Ooh. What do I get? Here you go, sweetheart. Poke him with that. Oh, thanks. You're welcome.
Number 9, we're going to go with one that a lot of people saw back when it came out and kind of forgot about it. If you somehow missed this one, I highly recommend Four Brothers. This one stars Mark Wahlberg. It's got a huge cast, but it's got some solid little action sequences, a couple of fight sequences, a really cool shootout. It doesn't necessarily go where you think it's going to go. And, it's not a home run, but it's a solid crime movie, and it's just a good, rated R adult movie. It's well-rounded. Again, I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but if you like this sort of genre, definitely give it a shot.
Let me get my seat.
Oh, now. You got him? You got him? You got him? All right, go. Yeah! You let them know who you are, boy.
At number 8, I'm going to go with the Newton Boys. This one has been on Netflix for a really long time. It's probably going to remain on Netflix. Stars Matthew McConaughey. Ethan Hawke is in it. It's got a big cast, and it is a just cool bank robbery, 1920s, Prohibition era flick. It's a little dated now, but like if you liked Johnny Depp in Public Enemies, this one's in the same vein. It's PG-13, so it's a little softer. If you like that sort of era, you're really going to like this movie a lot. If you don't really have any sort of, specific interest in that era, you could probably pass on this one, but it is a good crime flick.
Bloody hell. What do you plan on doing with that?
I'm gonna chop its head off.
You know I'm a vegetarian.
All right, number 7, I'm going to go with one that I really liked from the UK. It's called Redirected, and it's got Vinnie Jones in it. It's kind of like a Guy Ritchie inspired. It's not an action movie, but it's one of those stories where the main character starts to get into trouble, and then things get worse and worse and worse. But if you like the Guy Ritchie vibe, this one's a winner. It's not as good as Guy Ritchie's original works. It's definitely inspired by it, and they did a good job with it. But this is one that I don't know anybody that's seen it. I haven't talked to anybody that actually saw this one, so I'm in kind of a small company there. But if you saw it, definitely let me know in the comments, and if you didn't and you love Guy Ritchie, give this one a shot for sure.
Your beat, including me, and I'm through buying it.
What are you doing? Come on, this ain't no bank robbery.
Number 6 is Inside Man. A lot of people like this one. You might even be surprised to hear it was done by Spike Lee because it does not look or feel like a Spike Lee movie. But cool bank heist movie, awesome twist. Very interesting the way everything plays out. It's very well paced. I think it's one of Spike Lee's better directed movies. Kind of post 90s era Spike Lee. He's really kind of, in my opinion, been struggling as a director, sort of like telling a story. He just doesn't have what he had in the 90s. But this one is just very tight. There's not really any missing pieces. It fits together real well. I really like it as a bank heist movie. It's got a lot of qualities like a sort of an older sort of throwback movie just set in modern day. It's one of Clive Owen's better movies. Jodie Foster makes a pretty awesome appearance. And it's a lot of fun. If you somehow missed this one, check it out. If you maybe only saw it the one time years ago, you probably remember that you liked it. It's on Netflix. It's well worth watching again. In fact, it's probably better than most of the things that you would pay to rent otherwise.
There are over 550 million firearms in worldwide circulation. That's one firearm for every 12 people on the planet. The only question is, how do we arm the other 11?
Number 5. To me, this movie is like the Goodfellas of arms dealers. And that is Lord of War. This is quite possibly Nicolas Cage's last good movie, and it's a solid movie. I've watched this one a bunch of times. I love it. Nicolas Cage is great in it. I just hate to see what's happened to him. I wish he was still doing work like this. Jared Leto's got a really cool appearance in it. You only see him a couple of times, but it's a cool appearance. And I really like this one. For us to be at number 5, this is a really solid number 5.
105 in pursuit of suspect.
104, I got a visual on a motorcycle.
Number 4, I just love this movie. It's much slower than some of the other ones I just mentioned, but that is The Place Beyond the Pines. Now, this one is really just sort of a slower indie movie. Ryan Gosling has got a really great role in it. It's another one of his roles where he doesn't talk much. He's really good at like emoting with his eyes. He's very good at that. He's great in this. He's a little different than his Drive character, but this one's got a lot of, emotional power. It's a lot about sort of father-son relationships. That's ultimately what it's about. But Ray Liotta, Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes, huge cast. If you somehow miss this one and you're like hearing everything I'm saying about it, you're like, how did I miss this movie? It's a smaller movie. It didn't play a lot of places. I know HBO had it for a little while. It's currently on Netflix. It's not don't expect a crime movie like a bank heist movie. It's got some great sequences with that are all done in one take, by the way. But the story that's told in this movie is really impressive. It's kind of long, but just like I'm getting long-winded talking about it, but I highly recommend The Place Beyond the Pines.
Are you sure there's nobody else in the house? Would you like to go upstairs and check?
Number 3. This one really disappointed me, but as time has shown, it's way better than I gave it credit for when it first came out, and that's David Fincher's Zodiac. Now, the reason this disappointed me is I didn't have high expectations for it. I had David Fincher expectations. I had appropriate expectations, but I had different expectations for it. I thought it was going to be a little more like Seven. I shouldn't have thought that. That was my fault. David Fincher really doesn't do the exact same thing twice. Zodiac's a very different movie than Seven. If you love Seven, which most people do, don't expect to get that from Zodiac. It's much more slower paced. But if you're currently watching Netflix's show Mindhunters, which I highly recommend it, it's a David Fincher project just like House of Cards. It's about the FBI. I don't want to give too much away, but just watch Mindhunters. If you're into the stuff I'm talking about in this video, you'll love that new series. It's very similar to Zodiac. So if you love that show and you haven't seen Zodiac, watch Zodiac. If you love Zodiac and haven't seen the show, watch the show. But this movie's got some incredible sequences in it. It's so well directed. It builds tensions really well. It puts you in the setting really well. So this one's worth multiple viewings. The performances are great. I could gush on about it. It really does require more than that initial viewing to go back and see just how well it's put together and really see how it was directed. That's why I really like this movie now.
I took the father. Now I'll take the son. I'm gonna paint Paradise Square with his blood.
Number 2, this one's easily in my top 20, possibly top 15, not my top 10 of all time, ever, all genres. And that's Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York. Love this movie. Had to put it on the list. It almost made number 1, but you'll see why it didn't in a minute. This one's just so freaking cool. The costumes and the production design is a little over the top. It's a little embellished. Daniel Day-Lewis's Bill the Butcher is insane. It's criminal that he didn't get an Academy Award for this. Just like it's criminal, DiCaprio did not get an Academy Award for Django Unchained. That's insane. But all that aside, this movie's really great. It fizzles out a little bit for me. If you've seen it, you kind of probably know what I'm talking about. But I just love the whole vibe of this movie. I probably watch this movie once every other year. It's on Netflix now. If it's been a while since you've seen it, definitely go back and rewatch Gangs of New York.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Go right ahead.
And the reason Gangs of New York didn't make number 1 is because Pulp Fiction is currently available on Netflix, putting it at number 1. I hate to be a little bit of a basic bitch with Pulp Fiction, but it really is that good. Yeah, you could argue it's not necessarily crime, but it totally is. It's about criminals, just like Reservoir Dogs. It's about criminals, and it's just a really unique perspective on crime and the lifestyle. And man, I don't need to go on about this movie. Anybody watching this video has seen Pulp Fiction more than once. If somehow you've only seen it once or you've never seen it, make it the first one you watch out of the recommendations I'm giving you today. It's so interesting. It's so much fun. It's so quotable. It's just one of, not the, but one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. When that came out, other directors, very good directors like Clint Eastwood, are on the record as saying they knew this was the start of something new and different. And they were totally right. Tarantino's still killing it. I love some of his movies more than others. This has got to be his best. If you disagree with me, you think I'm out of my mind, Pulp Fiction is not his best movie, let me know in the comments. But thanks for watching, and you will see me next time.